toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. That gets better every episode. Welcome, my friends, to this fine radio program, Smoking and Toasting, and it's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And what was that? There it is. There's the debut show open.
The new jingle. Yes, that's
so
awesome.
I had been saying for a long time, we should have a Smoking and Toasting song, and apparently you just went out and made one.
This is a great story. A buddy of mine called me up, and he's not one to sit idle and let grass grow under his feet. You know, he decides to do something, he just does it. So he calls me up. This was on a Sunday night, and goes, "Hey, let's write that jingle." Okay. So I go over to his house, and we polished off his bottle of Blanton's. Actually, the bottle of Blanton's that I gave him as his housewarming, because he just moved into this house in my neighborhood, which is pretty fun. So we went over there, and I picked up a guitar, and he picked up a guitar. He already had some ideas. He already had that little rhythm idea going on, and I started playing around with a melody, and he liked that, and then he wrote some lyrics to it.
And all of a sudden,
there it was. So he calls me up. That was Sunday. So Monday he calls me up. He goes, "Okay, I got the studio booked for tomorrow night. We got John Egan coming in to sing it."
John Egan, and you may not be familiar with John if you're outside of our area,
right?
But I can tell you, the little bar that's downstairs in my building, John plays down there about once every 3-4 months, and I try to never miss it because he is so good. It's just him and a guitar.
When I talk about John Egan, they're like, "What does he sound like?" He's what blues sounds like.
Yeah, right. He's just amazing. Love him.
Yeah, he's so good.
And he sounds so great, so I'm so honored. So now our new quest will be to see if we can get other musicians that we know or meet or run into to record their own version of it.
Yes, we just have to have it in all kinds of musical styles.
Right, all styles. Yeah, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great to get like the Suffers to do it in that sort of like funky,
that would be beautiful.
What do they call it? Gulf Coast soul, I think is what they call their style of music. That'd be awesome.
That'd be amazing.
A really great little gentle acoustic version. You get like a metal version. That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, well done, Ian, and thank your friend, and we'll toast him at the end of the show.
I will do. We'll put up a credits list at some point.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to Smoking and Toasting show number 102. It is a pleasure to be able to say to you that we've done 102 of these shows. 101 of them are actually available to listen to, and we are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. So, couple of thank yous and a couple of things we need to announce.
Before you get on to that, I just want to point out, the well that you do at the beginning of every show.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually going to peak at 100, but it actually just keeps going. I don't know where you're headed with it.
So where are we now? Okay, well, who knows?
You constantly amaze me. Just thank you very much.
We had you do it for show number 100.
I did, but and I did it in a comical way, which because I can't do it like you. I can't do it with the intensity that you put into it.
What talents does Cruz have? Well, he can.
You should hear him say, "Well,
he can do this thing." Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're still enjoying it, and no one has forced me to stop yet. So off we go. And you remember, by the way, just in case this ever comes up, I claim no responsibility for the authorship of that. I stole that. So.
That's okay.
Yeah. And remember, and I say this to anyone who's listening to the show, and I said this to Chris Hart the other day because we were talking about our, he does this great show called Whiskey Neat, and you and I were
on there last week.
We were guests on there last week.
It's wonderful.
And I think I told him at that point, he'd said something about, you guys had this idea. I thought, I should do that. And I said, well, just remember, Chris, if you steal from me, you've stolen twice.
That's right.
That's just the way I feel about it. So, okay, couple of big things. Thanks to Chris Hart, by the way, for just his continued support. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thanks to Chris Soul from Deep Eddy Vodka for being on the show last week. She was a great guest, very informed about vodka, and she also brought along some fantastic cocktails. And then, I don't know if you knew this or not, but like the staff here is so happy because when she left, she took all those bottles of flavored vodka and stuck them in the freezer here at the studios. So the staff here is like, woohoo!
And now it's a party.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, so at this company where we come and record this is your company in your office building, or your office. You have the best work fridge I've ever seen in my life.
Well, right now it's full of like different kinds of beer.
I know, and it always is. And then you open the freezer, and you're like, "Huh? Is there ice? Yes.
Yes.
Is there cocktail mixers?
It's hard
yes.
to find.
Is there
the
vodka?
Ice.
Yes.
Yes. It's hard to find the ice because the vodka kind of gets in the way.
Right.
Yes. Well, thank you to Chris for not only restocking our vodka freezer, but for also being a great guest.
She was really, so fun.
Really wonderful show.
And so enthusiastic about making the drinks. One of the things I thought was really interesting about her, too, is she even said, she was, I mix the cocktails a little bit on the lighter side so I can have a few cocktails rather than
which
cocktail,
is interesting. And if you're going to be, at a party or something like, drinking all night,
right.
that can be a really important thing.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be that guy or that girl that, 3/4 into the party, everybody else is still pretty together, and you're like,
Yeah. When everyone's looking at you thinking about writing stuff on your forehead in Sharpie, you've had too much.
That could be the title of a book or some sort of a grand proclamation about
It's an
life.
event.
When everyone's looking at you thinking about writing things on your forehead with a Sharpie, you've had too much. That could be your thing, like Jeff Foxworthy's you might be a redneck.
Right, you might be right.
Like your thing.
Right on his forehead.
You've had too much when.
Yeah, I've got there you go.
Right? That could work. A couple of things we want to mention. Oh, thanks also to Fistful of Bourbon through a really nice event last night here in Houston, which is where we do the show.
Yeah.
At Boss Cat Kitchen.
Super classy place.
And I love Boss Cat, love their whiskey room, and we were in there. You and I were both there, and so was our buddy Chris Hart. And Fistful of Bourbon was officially launching their new product, a very inexpensive bourbon that's a mix of 5 different.
Yeah, it was
whiskeys.
really nice.
It was
We had 3 different cocktails with it as well that were all outstanding.
Yeah,
so.
we had fun, and then we sat outside and smoked cigars. It's like we're gonna have to stop hanging out together. People are gonna talk. Okay, a couple of things to put on your calendar. This one I don't have a date for yet, but it's coming. The Smokin' and Toastin' Martini Showdown is coming. That will be on the show where we have a gin martini master face off against a vodka martini master, and we're going to put a tasting panel together.
And we're going to need to get a new sound machine.
Yeah.
Because we have to, like, when they start mixing and stuff, we have to have lightsaber sounds.
Oh, yes, of course. That's good. Well, maybe I'll just go get one of those toy lightsabers that when you shake it, it makes that sound. Right. And while they're shaking the cocktails, I can just be over here over the microphone.
That'd be awesome.
Because I really want a lightsaber. And then coming up, we do have a date for this. Coming up October 10th at the B&B Butchers and Restaurant location on Washington Ave in Houston will be the Whiskey Sniff. Now, we're putting together all the details of this now, which means we'll have a ticket on sale date and ticket prices and a description of exactly what the event's going to be all coming up. So it's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be our first,
really excited about
our first Smokin' and Toastin' event, and one that you will really want to be able to say you were at. And we'll also have Whiskey Sniff T-shirts for sale, which are going to look awesome.
Yeah,
so
that's exciting.
So we'll make them cheap. So it's been quite a week. I am I realized I just saw you last night, but I thought it would be appropriate to ask if you'd smoked anything interesting this week.
Yeah, weren't we together last night?
Yeah. Was that when you smoked something interesting?
Actually, so last night I smoked one that I'd smoked a bunch of times before, so I won't go over that. I did go home because I didn't have anything super new and interesting that I'd smoked all week. But so I went home and smoked a cigar that a friend of mine gave to me. I like to hang out. One of my closest cool bars in my neighborhood is the New Potato.
Oh, love the New Potato.
And Paul over there has hired a new bartender, and he's very much a cigar enthusiast. Roberto is his name.
Yeah.
And he is a blast to hang out with. So, of course, I'm a cigar enthusiast. He's a cigar enthusiast, so we're always swapping cigars.
Right.
Here, you try this. No, you try this.
Right.
So he lays on me a couple weeks ago. He lays on me the Rocky Patel 50.
Oh,
So
nice.
have you had one of these?
I have.
That's a good cigar.
It's a
I'm going
real
to go
good
ahead and
cigar.
let that cat out of the bag right
It's
now. That's a good cigar. Now,
real
it's an expensive cigar.
Yes.
Okay, it's not cheap.
Very
Like
pricey.
it says on here, like
So you've got the decade and the 15 and then the
then the
33 and then the 50.
right.
Right.
And this was released in celebration of his 50th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
The one I had was Robusto 5.5 by 50. It's about $19 on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty pricey cigar. That is super
kidding.
premium. I've already let the cat out of the bag on it. It is an outstanding cigar.
That's great.
Is it $19 worth of outstanding cigar?
Well, that's my question for you. Yeah, what do you think?
The pre-light sniff on this was nice. It was peppery. It was a little dark fruity, a little maybe espresso-y, and a little bit of leather. But it wasn't real strong smelling. I was pretty surprised by that. The appearance of the cigar was pretty smooth, dark, oily wrapper, which I like the feel of. It's box press too, which is always fun. And a pretty firm box press. So I lit the cigar. The initial light on this was pepper, right in your face pepper. I was like, that's kind of good, Let's see where it goes from there. The pepper rolls off, and you get kind of a little dark fruit sweetness from this thing. And leather, and a little bit of earth and cappuccino maybe, or espresso. It smoked like that for a while. It was good. Then the sweetness went away, and it got more peppery. And the pepper was more of the flavor towards the end of the cigar. The cigar burned perfectly until the second third of the cigar. I'm sorry, the third third of the cigar. The beginning of the third third of the cigar just went out on me. Done. And I was tending it pretty well. I was a little alarmed by that. Now, the burn was perfect. It went out almost perfectly. But it went out.
Even right across.
Yeah, it was dead even.
Razor edge, go out.
And I even had a little bit of smoke over it. I was trying to puff it to keep it lit, and it still wouldn't do it. So eventually I relit it. No penalty.
Interesting.
Like no penalty whatsoever. I smoked it down to a nub. The tail end of the cigar ramps up from a medium to a full flavored. Right at the beginning's a full flavored. I enjoyed it tremendously right down to the end. I give it a solid 5. It's worth the money.
Nice.
It's definitely worth the money. I don't know if it's worth more than money.
It's a lot of money.
It went out on its own penalty, I think, was
what kept it from being a 5.5
what kept it
or
from
6.
being a little above 5.5. But man, what a great flavor bomb. I wouldn't call it complex. I wouldn't call it loaded with a ton of flavors. But what it did have was really good, and it did evolve a little bit, which I kind of like that experience. So
Right.
I give it a solid 5 on a price to quality index, and roll with from there.
Nice. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll tell you about what I smoked this week. I have a pretty interesting. I'll tell you what the cigar was. It was the Montecristo White Especial No. 1. Very interesting cigar, and so I'll tell you about that coming up. Plus, we have a lot of things to talk about on the show today. We have the best-selling cigar list. Has been released to Cigar Aficionado magazine from cigar retailers around the world. So we can share that with you. We have information on our friends up the road at Shiner, the Spetzel Brewery in Shiner, Texas.
That's always fun.
They're adding 2 new very interesting beers to their lineup, and I'm thrilled to see this, and we'll get to the story, but I'm thrilled to see this because often when Shiner adds beers, I look at them and go, well, that's cool and all, but I wish they'd do something really interesting. And I think they're doing something really interesting. So we'll tell you about that. Plus, I think you'll like this. The best bourbon when money is no object. That will be one of our touch points for the show today.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we're tasting a tequila, so it's going to be we're going to be all over the place.
You're gonna have to twist my arm now.
In the best kind of way. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we will be right back with segment number 2.
A friend of mine just texted me and asked if we had messages disabled on our.
Oh, really? No, I just I'm seeing that some people are watching, and I just messaged on the video, right?
Right.
Chris Hart says, "Sup, bros."
What's up, Chris?
Woo-hoo, we were just talking about you. All right.
Let's see. I don't think we have anything like that set up. So,
by the way, what I will do also with the intro is I will take it and get some voiceover stuff done for an outro that says, I'll just like kind of repeat the guitar rhythm or whatever, and have like an outro voiceover, like "You've been listening to Smoking and Toasting."
Well, and I had him,
and then bring the last part on.
Yeah, and I had him record just
that's right. You
just
did
the
just
music, so
yeah,
you don't even
great.
have to. You don't even have to search for it. It's already there.
And then
for
we'll
you.
bring it on, and then he can say cheers at the very end of the show.
Yeah, I figured I had him just loop
Not
it
for
and play it
today.
over and over
Not for
again,
today,
so that
we'll,
so that we could do stuff like that.
That's great. Love it. All right, ready for segment numero dos.
Okay, I don't see any reason why that would be disabled.
I see people commenting on it now. So.
Chris, talking about me, what were you saying?
You may never know.
That's right. About you, not to you. He's so funny. He's such an earnest guy to talk to as well.
And you know what? I think I now owe him about 5 cigars. I was thinking,
Right.
about it. I think he's given me 5 cigars since I gave him one. So I need to totally even up the score here. All right, ready when you are, Adam? Welcome back to Smokin' and Toastin'. It is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we are brought to you by our friends at B&B Butchers and Restaurant, who we love, at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston. And thing is, and please don't tell them this, but we would love them even if they weren't a sponsor. It's just a good, fun place to go.
That's true.
They're also in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, and we haven't forgotten about doing the Fort Worth show. There's just been a lot going on. We'll get it on the calendar. I promise. So I'm going to show this to the camera real quick. That's what we're going to be tasting in this segment. It's called Hoss. It's a very I thought it was appropriate since we had the little Alice in Chains bumper music, because it looks very grunge to me.
It does.
With the plaid. Yeah, but it's an Oktoberfest lager, so the Oktoberfests are beginning to creep out into the store shelves, and of course you and I have already professed our love for the St. Arnold.
It's interesting that they're doing an Oktoberfest lager, because
Yes,
Oktoberfests are usually a Marzen.
That's right, and so I thought this would be very different.
Marzen. I don't know how you say it if you're German.
I say it both ways, actually, and hope that I'm right at least 50% of the time.
Or I'm Texas. It's a Marzen.
It's a Marzen.
Marzen.
So Haas comes from Denver, Colorado, actually. So we'll be tasting an Oktoberfest lager, and so I'm looking forward to that in this segment on Smokin' and Toastin'. You mentioned your cigar, and I wanted to tell you about the one that I smoked this week. It was as if I only smoked one. But
cigar.
This one particular cigar that I want to talk to you about is a Montecristo White Especial #1. Now, Montecristo White was a somewhat later edition. I mean, they've been out for like 6 or 7 years, I think. But they were a later addition to the Montecristo line. This one doesn't date back to forever. And I wanted to mention also that our friend Brian Nguyen from Casa de Montecristo gave me this cigar at our 100th episode. So I've had it sitting in the humidor for a couple of weeks, and a couple of days ago I thought, okay, now's the time. And so I broke it out. It was the Special #1 is a Lonsdale, so it's only a 44 ring gauge, I believe. It's fairly thin, but not a Panatella. But it was 6.5 inches long, so it was a nice, respectable cigar. Pre-light on it, very toasty with a little bit of leather. None of that funky smell that cheap, because it's a Connecticut wrapper,
right?
So none of that cheap, funky smell that some really inexpensive
kind of moldy
Connecticut's
hay
have.
kind of thing,
right?
Moldy hay
really,
and ashtray.
Yeah, that I really go, oh man, really? I hope it doesn't taste like that. And in a lot of cases with those cheaper Connecticut's, it doesn't. But you do get that smell when you're doing the pre-light. But there was none of that here. It was very toasty, bit of leather. Lit the baby up. The draw was a little bit tight, So I did a very careful squeezing. You know how you can do
Yeah.
just kind of roll the cigar around your fingers, feel places where it might be a little tight, and just apply just a little gentle pressure. You're hoping not to crack the
Right.
especially when it's a Connecticut wrapper,
Which will
that
crack
can be
and
a
flake a
thing,
little
right?
easier, yeah.
But I was able to get it to loosen up without cracking anything. It was a beautiful yellow-brown Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper. So it's Connecticut seed, but grown in Ecuador. And then Dominican and Nicaraguan fillers. And I have to say, this was a nice complexity for a milder cigar. And that was what really impressed me about it right off the bat. Notes of toast, really nice nutty flavor, even a little pepper on the finish, which you don't often get with
Not with
a
Connecticut, yeah.
Right. It felt to me that this is what a milder cigar should be like, because it was still very mild, but it actually had a flavor profile to it, and I really like that. Only complaint I could come up with is that, and it might be related to the initial draw being a little tight, the only complaint was that I did have to relight a couple of times. Fortunately, there was no penalty. Again, something that can be a big problem with Connecticut.
Yeah, Connecticut's can be a little unforgiving because they will
Yes.
turn to burnt paper pretty quick.
Yes, and I was concerned about that, but it actually wound up working really good. So I felt like what I wanted to say about the cigar is this is what a milder cigar should be like. Like, this should be the standard for it, you know? Only real catch here, it was a $10 cigar. So when trying to come up with the price-quality rating, I'm now in my brain comparing it to other cigars I've loved in this price range, and that's hurting it a little. Because if I wasn't doing that, like, I'd be inclined to give this maybe an even higher rating. That being said, if you want a mild to medium cigar, if that's what you're looking for, but that gives you some great flavor and complexity, this should be on your radar. I really think this is a perfect cigar for someone who's only smoked milds, has maybe smoked like something heavier and didn't like it, but is wondering, will I ever smoke anything other than a mild? This is a perfect next step cigar, and it's got wonderful flavors to it. I'm going to give it a 5. Even though it's a $10 cigar, I'm going to give it a 5 P to Q, because I felt like it was worth what I would have paid for it had Brandon not been so generous as to
It's
give me.
interesting that you bring up the mild cigar, especially as an experienced cigar smoker, as we are. And I generally like a more medium to full profile.
Yeah,
most of
you
the
and
time.
I both are like that, I think.
But I also find high value in finding a great mild cigar, and that's I've extolled the virtues of the Perdomo,
the champagne.
the champagne.
Yes.
I think to me is a great, and it's not quite, I think, as expensive as I think it's a couple dollars less than what you were talking about.
But
for
but
comparable,
it's not a super cheap.
but
yeah.
it's a great mild cigar with great complexity in the flavor. It's mild in strength, but not mild on flavor profile. And then I always go ahead. I'm going to let you do that. That was like almost like Bela Lugosi creepy, you know? Like you just dragged that.
I don't know if you could open it much slower than that.
That was the door creaking on its way open.
Opening the Haas Oktoberfest lager. But you were saying.
But no, so I was saying, and I'm also a great champion of the Fuente Hemingway series.
Great mellow
because
cigar.
it's such a good mellow cigar.
Well,
now there's more out there as well, like the Romeo Julietas and some of the Avos,
Avos
make
are good,
great cigars. But bang for the buck, I think those are some of the better ones out there. And it's nice.
Well,
I've had that white series before.
I will tell you that people, a lot of more experienced, more like heavy cigar smoker types will make fun of Macanudo. But if you want a really good quality mild cigar, Macanudos
are
what? Fantastic.
You know what one of the other benefits of Macanudos is?
What's
you
that?
can walk into Walgreens or CVS and buy one in a little humidor pouch.
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
And that's
a real cigar,
very unusual.
right there off the shelf. Yep. That's a beautiful thing.
I think that is an unusual and a good thing.
Yes.
All right. Now, I don't know whether to expect the Oktoberfest lager from Haas to be unusual or more of a straightforward lager that they've decided is their Oktoberfest release. You know what I'm saying? Because I think some beer companies try to brew something that specifically has a sort of a fall flavor profile to it for their Oktoberfest, and others are like, this is the beer we're releasing at this time of the year. We're really excited about it. We're going to call it.
Did you
our
buy this as a
Oktoberfest.
single or a 6-pack?
I bought it as a single.
Damn it! I want the other 5.
Oh, no kidding. You like it, huh? That's
This
interesting.
is everything I like about an Oktoberfest, but a little bit lighter.
Wow,
Like, this
that's
is so
really-
malty and ridiculous. I
that's
love it.
For a lager, especially. A lot of times, lagers, you don't get this level.
And
of
it still has that crisp lager finish on it. They did
Uh-huh.
a great job on
wow.
this.
So this is from the guys in Denver,
This,
Colorado.
this is like the lightest, incredibly malty beer I think I've ever had.
I think you may be right, and
I love this.
In answer to my question, it definitely is an Oktoberfest, not just a beer they
No,
decided
it's fall
to
flavors all
name
day long.
Oktoberfest.
And
yeah.
actually, this probably has a little more of almost like that baking spice, almost into a Christmas ale kind of a bit in it as well. But I love this. Absolutely love it. This is a light beer with a ton of flavor.
It's from Great Divide Brewing Company. They are based in Denver, Colorado. And you can see the mountain man with the plaid colors there on the can. I think it's
if
quite
you're
good,
looking
too.
for something that has a ton of hops, don't go here.
This is kind of like if you took St. Arnold Oktoberfest and said, give me a light version of it.
Yeah,
You know?
and a good light version
a
of
good
it,
light
though.
version of it, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I agreed.
Wow, that's very impressive.
That is fantastic.
I
And,
wasn't necessarily expecting that.
and now I see why they designated Oktoberfest Lager as well.
Right, because it really is...
You put that just out of my reach.
oh, yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
don't you... I will mention that as we have a moment or two left in this segment while we enjoy a little more of this. But, yeah, you're right. That's good. And you know what else it is? It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you can often say about... You could say them about Oktoberfest, but it may not be the first adjective that would come to mind. You know what I mean? Like you think of those more as beers you drink for flavor than for refreshment. And this kind of straddles the line between those two very nicely.
It does. What I'm really amazed by is the lack of big hops.
Right.
Like they use the hops in that as a bittering agent so that you get this great finish that doesn't last too long, doesn't linger. It tempers some of the sweetness from the hops to a degree. They did a great job.
Well, we
on
live in a very hop-driven craft beer society right now, and I'll take part of the blame for that because of being such an IPA fanatic.
I may like this because this is so opposite that and well done
But see,
too.
I just enjoy that so much, and it's one of the things that I was thinking about this the other day that I just love about the whole craft beer scene is that I've certainly got my favorite flavors, but that doesn't keep me from really enjoying something that's completely different from my favorite flavors. You know,
I get a little droll because even a lot of the beers we tried too, they say, "Oh, it's a summer session ale," or "It's this or that," and it's always just a ton of hops.
right?
And this to me, I can drink this in the middle of summer. I'd be fine with that.
Absolutely, because it's light enough and it's thirst quenching enough that it could qualify as a Summerfest if they wanted to instead of Oktoberfest. But if it were a summer beer, it would be the most fall baking spice tasting summer beer like ever.
Right. Also, it's 6.2%. I just noticed.
See, I didn't even look at that. So
a little less than sessionable, but that wouldn't stop me from trying.
I'm with you on that, and leave it to Ian.
Oh, Chris
to,
Morris is correcting me. All Marzens are lager by definition.
Oh, well, there you go.
See?
I guess a Marzen is a lager. He's that makes sense.
Style
to me
of lager, then.
Once I hear him say it, thank you, Chris. So a lot of cities and municipalities, and I think maybe even the state of California, are moving to ban flavored cigars. This is a big deal. It's designed to stop the youth trend towards those El Cheapo machine-made flavors that you can buy in convenience stores. It's not really about premium cigars. It's not about...
Do you think the youth trend are going to go spend $7 on a flavored acid?
No, absolutely. It's not about Drew Estate acids, but unfortunately, as this ban takes effect, those are going to be affected as well. So if you're in San Francisco right now, you can't go to a cigar store and buy an acid.
That's so
crazy. which is a real bummer. In the meantime, the manufacturers of the little machine-made cigars are finding ways to get around the flavor ban by coming up with ambiguous names and labels. It's really identifying them as things like sweets, green sweets, black, and diamond, instead of cherry, grape, watermelon rum, and mango guava. And this appears to be working to some degree, even though a chemical analysis would show you that there are flavored elements in the cigars, but they seem to be getting away with it. So I just think there's going to be more fallout from this. That's why I bring it up. And I'm hoping that it doesn't impact, the really good flavored cigars. And Drew Estates are their acid series are the ones that come to mind. But there are some others out there. There's some. What about a coffee flavored cigar, for example? Like the Rocky Patel has some of the coffee flavored ones, which are really quite good. I'm not the hugest fan of the coffee flavored cigars, but every once in a while, man, one of those really hits the spot.
My wife actually enjoys the good flavored cigars, and by good flavored cigars, I mean not the ones that are just
CAO has
stinky.
a nice, has some nice flavors,
right?
as
Like
well.
so, she likes some of the acid ones. So one of her favorite ones is that Drew Estate Natural,
which doesn't sell itself as a flavored cigar, but does have some flavor.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. It'll be interesting to see what becomes of all of this as these things go. I mean, it's designed to basically keep kids from smoking these 70-cent cigars, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll keep you up to date on all of the
it's too bad they can't
legislation.
Play on the difference between handmade and machine made.
Yeah, I agree with that. If they could find a way to do that, and we talked last week about the bill that the senators, the message that the senators sent, and that made that distinction pretty clearly in their letter. Was the handmade cigar industry would be really hurt by this and shouldn't be regulated the same way as the machine-made cigar industry and the cigarette industry. But then, of course, you've got, Nat Sherman's parent company in there messing it up because they make Marlboro. So.
And I don't see Rocky Patel making cigars with watermelon-flavored blunt wraps.
No, I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. And I'm pretty sure nobody's
You know what this blend of tobaccos needs? A watermelon-flavored wrapper.
Yeah. All right, coming up, we're going to taste, we're going to move now from this very interesting fall-flavored brew to something a little bit sour, the Ommegang Pale Sour Ale from Cooperstown, New York. We will taste in our next segment. Plus, we're going to get to this. Shiner adding 2 new really interesting and funky beers. And I'm really excited about showing you this bourbon list.
It's an exciting week for news.
Yeah, the best bourbons to use when money is no object. Because I know you're the guy that you go into a bar, the wallet comes out, you're just throwing the dollars around
everywhere.
You're that guy.
Yeah, totally.
You're like, you're always going up to the bar, say to the bartender, give me a bourbon. He says, what would you like? And you go, your most expensive one.
Right.
That's you. Always that. Yeah. Wait, so you'll enjoy this.
Or maybe not.
All right, it's coming up on Smoking and Toasting.
I wish I could afford that to be me.
I like it.
I love it when people chime in here.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of conversation going.
Awesome. I'm going to have to go study my beer styles a little better. That's so good.
Yeah, I'm glad you like that. That's very exciting.
Maybe I'm just more on the less on the technical side of beer and more on the beer good side of beer.
I love the beer good side. That just works for me.
Not quite okay with that.
All right. We're ready to jump into the next segment.
You're approaching my territory with the ABV already.
Yeah, I know.
6.2 to 6.9.
I'm just trying to, you kind of put me on, the defensive about my ABVs. So. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. It's our program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. So Ian, I'm thrilled that you enjoyed Great Divide's Haas Oktoberfest lager.
I'm going to look for that and buy some.
Yeah, I think
That will be like the one 6-pack that I don't buy of St. Arnold.
of St. Arnold Oktoberfest will be that
which
one.
I've been trying to drink them out of as much as possible.
We're back to this again, smoking and toasting, directly impacting sales. Yeah, it'll happen.
Well, the beautiful thing about the St. Arnold Oktoberfest is it comes out directly before St. Arnold Christmas Ale.
Oh, which
is, to me,
one of
are
my
two of the
favorite,
best beers ever.
Well, the two Christmas ales I get most excited about every year are St. Arnold and Anchor.
Anchor, yeah. Anchor's is always
Anchor's is
the
so
interesting
good.
thing about Anchor's, though, is it's different every year.
I know. It's like a by-year release, whereas our friends at St. Arnold give us that, consistency.
Right.
But then they also have the one, you always have to remind me of the name of this, the one where they combine it with...
Sailing Santa.
Yes, Sailing Santa.
That's where they combine the Christmas ale and the...
that's just heaven.
Endeavor.
That's just heaven. I love it. Sailing Santa. I'm ready. Okay. Ooh, wow, that had a definite pop to it.
Ooh, that has fragrance to it.
Yes, we are trying the Ommegang Pale Sour Ale. Ommegang Brewery is from Cooperstown, New York, which isn't that where the Baseball Hall of Fame is, Cooperstown?
That sounds
I think
right.
that's right, yeah. I'm not the world's hugest baseball guy, but go Astros.
I don't know. Is there is there a song about Cooperstown? No, that's Allentown. Never mind.
That's it. All right, here we go.
Here's the bottle. For all to
yeah,
see.
show that off to the bottle. Wow.
This one's coming in at 6.9%. We believe that balance is a heavenly quality in beer. Elegantly balanced sour flavors created in collaboration with, I can't pronounce that, Brouwery, Leafmans in Belgium.
Yeah.
They have brewed and balanced extraordinary sour beers since the 1600s. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. This is very funky on the nose.
I'm going to tell you this, and I haven't even nosed this yet, but I don't think I've ever had anything from this brewery that has been less than outstanding.
Well, that's interesting because I don't know what to think based on the initial aroma.
It's interesting. It smells bright and sour. Peachy and sour almost.
It smells bright and dark at the same time, which is kind of a weird
Dark?
thing. Yeah, right. Kind of a weird thing to try to describe, but it really does. I don't know what to expect. Usually with a beer like this, you can tell what to expect once you take that initial sniff, but I really
That
don't
is
know.
sour and tart and funky all at the same time. And it leaves my mouth watering like crazy.
You're right about all of that.
You know that you remember that gum you used to get that would make your mouth water like crazy, right? The athlete gum or whatever.
Right.
That's what this is doing to my face right now.
I don't know what this is. Okay, first of all, this is incredibly complex.
So the fruits in here, like it's like almost like sour peach, sour with some cherry, with
yeah, it is one of the fruitiest tasting beers that I think I've had in a long time.
But I think the light and dark that you're getting is it has some of that dark fruit character, but it also has some of those brighter fruit characters. Like peach is not a dark fruit,
right? I think you're
but
right.
This is sour peach, so it's almost like an underripe and close to the skin peach.
Well, you've got the lighter flavors like the peach and maybe a little bit of
mango, but then got that
there's
dark
also,
cherry,
some cherry going
bitter
on
to
there.
it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's
very interesting. You don't think of mixing. Peach
It almost
and cherry.
has a bitter strawberry kind of astringency to it without the strawberry flavor, but it has that kind of feel.
I'm having a hard time describing this one.
This tastes like everything, but almost like nothing.
Well, yeah, and
how's that?
It's wonderfully vague, but it speaks to the issue. Like I'm just saying, I have a hard time describing this.
Adam, what are you thinking about this one? He's being all nonchalant over there, but I hear him giggling at us.
This is definitely one of the best sour beers I've ever had.
Really?
It
Okay.
really is.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I'm not a sour fan at all, but this is delicious.
I'm enjoying
it's
this.
really good.
See, and this is not sour like Petrus is sour.
Mm-hmm.
This is sour more like tart, like you get in a lot of these tart beers, or like a Goza is sour.
Right.
It's good though, and it's drink. I can't stop drinking this.
Well,
this
there
keeps
like
going
you
right
said,
to my face.
Your mouth waters after
Yeah.
after you make the after you make the first, drink of it swallow down, and you want more.
I think once you get over the initial tartness shock too, you start being able. So there's a little banana flavor kind of thing going on in there.
Yes, there is. And there's so much fruit in here, so many different.
Yeah,
fruit flavors.
this has got so many things going on, and then there's just this little kind of bitterness in the finish, and you can taste the hop ending on it. That's really interesting as well.
So while we have a couple of moments left in this segment, and while we search for other adjectives to describe this very interesting and
we're just going
beer.
to break down to the old Batman scene with pow and zap.
Oh, boom, pow, zap. Yeah, this definitely has more zap than pow.
Right.
But no, we had Adam, our producer, on the mic here a moment ago talking about this sour beer, and it was a perfect reminder to me that our boy here on the Wheels of Steel has just returned from his bachelor party. Ooh. So I think he should, at this point in time, give us an update on the bachelor party and how he's just shaking his head. No, come on, Adam. What went down? How'd you do? I mean, did you drink anything good at least? Come on, you gotta give us something.
I saw somebody get hit by a car.
Oh, crap.
Real?
I did a front flip off a diving board.
Oh, wow.
That's all about that's as much as I remember.
This is we just got the Cliff Notes version.
So you were in Austin, right?
Yeah, it was. I had a great time. I had a lot of bad liquor stuff that you wouldn't normally drink unless it's your bachelor party.
I should have sent that bottle of Malort with you.
Yeah,
perfect bachelor party liquor. That would have been perfect bachelor party liquor. So. I'm telling you. And Malort raises his head once again. So in perfect gentlemanly fashion, that's all Adam wants to tell us about his bachelor party. And I respect him for that.
Well, I told the story. So I had I love this story. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in that space there. I had a friend of mine's bachelor party. We just had it in my backyard, and at the time I had one of those big giant the trampolines in there,
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't go jump around on it or anything, but bachelor party, finished a couple kegs of beer. Everyone just stayed at my house. That was the whole thing.
Smart.
I had room for everybody,
Very
so we just stayed.
smart
We
thing to
just
do.
stayed at my house. And I woke up the next morning. I came out of my bedroom and I'm walking across the dining room area to the kitchen, and I see one of the guys sitting there at the table with a cup of coffee. And he turns and looks at me, and the side of his face that was facing away is covered with this. You know how when you sleep on your pillow, you get the pillow wrinkles
Like
stuck
the
in your
imprint,
face?
yeah.
Yeah. So he had this imprint of this mesh pattern on his face, and I just looked at him and said, "Oh, you slept on the trampoline, didn't you?" And he goes, "Yeah, until the sun hit that, until the sun came up and hit that thing."
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be out there after that. That is for sure.
That was hilarious.
All right, coming up, we have more tasting to do. Plus, we are going to bring you. We have a couple of great lists here that I've mentioned on the show before. One is the best-selling brands of cigars list is out that retailers have reported to Cigar Aficionados. So we'll share that with you. Plus, the best bourbon you can buy when money is no object, and this is not a single bourbon we're talking about here. It's a list of a number of different ones that would be good for that. So,
I can't wait to hear that.
So we'll get to that all coming up in the next segment. Plus, let's taste some tequila. You ready for some tequila Avion Anejo?
Yes.
Okay, good. I knew I could.
Hell
I knew
yes.
I could talk to you.
Or as the Spanish would say, hell sí.
I knew I could talk you into it. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. So since we don't really worry about segment length that much anymore, if I look up and we've got 2 minutes, it doesn't make sense to go to a new topic. I just end it, and then because we have plenty of segments.
No, we go over on other stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So
I've got no problems with that.
because sometimes it feels weird to shift to something and then hurry up to end it.
Now, I will tell you also, we've set the precedent that we can do 3+ hours.
Yeah. And we can when needed.
Now, didn't I bring an Avion Silver at some
You
point in
did. You
time?
went the silver.
Yes.
And it was quite good, as I recall.
Because I think I still have a tiny bit left
Is
of that.
that an Oktoberfest?
That looks like an Oktoberfest.
Smells like an Oktoberfest.
That was a good beer.
It is an Oktoberfest. Adam, would you like some more of this, or is some more left?
Oh, okay. Thank you. It is really good.
So very interesting. Okay. All right. Ready to bounce back here, sir, when you are. Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting, the show that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth and at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and soon to be across the street from themselves with their new bar.
Across the street from themselves.
Did Jeremiah say it was called Lemon?
I think that's what he said, something like that.
I'm excited about it, and it's going to be open in like a month. So I'm psyched about that, too. Got to go over and hang out with the boy.
I'm still sipping on this crazy sour ale.
You're enjoying that, aren't you?
I kind of am.
It really is.
It's interesting that
it's a
how
very good ale.
it makes you want to keep drinking it.
Business is up in the cigar world. We talked about this, I think, a little bit on the 100th show, how the cigar business is going through a sort of a minor surge or boom, not like the cigar boom of the 90s, but a much more sustainable boom. And not only is business up, but the best seller is Padron. According to a new survey of retailers who all admit they're still worried about the FDA, Cigar Insider, which is a kind of an industry publication that's owned by Cigar Aficionado magazine and the parent company, they surveyed 105 cigar store owners and managers representing 174 brick-and-mortar cigar shops around the country, and this is the 23rd time in a row they've done this poll. They do it once a year. And so coming in at number one, and this is basically the shop saying, here are our best sellers. Number one, Padron, with a 45.5% score.
I want to go ahead and say that Padron doesn't compromise as far as I know.
You know,
like their cigars are just great from end to end.
I will admit that,
and they're expensive.
I don't
but they're
enjoy
fantastic.
the lower end Padrones as much as I used to.
Right.
I think the quality might have slipped on those a little bit. But you get an Anniversario in your hands, I mean, there's very few things that are
any
finer.
of those Anniversarios, so good.
In the number two position, and bear in mind, Padron had a 45.5% score. In the number two position, being mentioned as a bestseller by 42%.
Can I guess?
These. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it Drew Estate?
No, it's Arturo Fuente.
Arturo Fuente, okay.
Yes, absolutely. And bear in mind that what you're going to see on this list as I go down the list for you is that it's primarily a lot of the older, more established brands.
Right.
And
the names that have been out forever.
A lot of that can have to do with who was surveyed, because these are the brands that I think it's easier for cigar stores to get and stock, for example.
And they're also, it's easy if you don't know cigars real well to go to, this is a brand that I've heard of.
If I walk into a small location that only has a handful of cigars, I'm much more likely to go after an Arturo Fuente because there isn't a My Father and there's not a Jaime Garcia and an AJ Fernandez and some of the things that I might choose when I'm in a humidor that has those options. So so that can affect it. But Padron at number one, Arturo Fuente at number three, Ashton at number three, with a 20.5% score. And then the numbers do fall off quite a bit from there. But in number four, Davidoff. In number five, My Father. That's huge for those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider that the only cigar brands above them are Padron, Arturo Fuente, Ashton, and Davidoff, and then My Father, like that company's only been around for so long.
That would be the first of the boutique brands that you just mentioned.
Absolutely, too. And doing a huge thing.
But those are great. I've never had a My Father cigar that's been less than outstanding as well.
And in fairness, My Father is not just the number five. They're actually tied with the exact same score at number five with Rocky Patel.
Oh, nice.
So My Father and Rocky Patel tied at 5. So then we go to 7 with Oliva, number 8 with Perdomo, number 9 with Romeo and Julieta, and number 10 is Montecristo. So this is very interesting. So these are.
I'm surprised as big a name as Montecristo is that it's not higher on that list. But
well, yeah, I agree
but they're
with
also
you.
kind of a limited brand.
Now the retailers were also asked, in addition to saying what are your best sellers, they were asked a separate question, what is your hottest brand? So this would be, I guess what might make this up is what brands are people coming in asking for?
Right.
And Arturo Fuente ranked at the top of that list, followed by Padron. So Padron was number 1 on one list, number 2 on the other. Arturo Fuente was 1 on one and 2 on the other.
Right.
Then La Flor Dominicana, Fuente and Fuente Opus X by itself. So this is what people are coming in asking for. Rocky Patel at number 5, Ashton at number 6, Liga Privada at number 7, tied actually at number 7 with My Father. At number 9, a tie between the Padron 1964 Anniversary Series and Romeo and Julieta. At number 11, then, it's a tie, Davidoff and Leaf by Oscar. First time I've seen this show up in one of these lists.
That's awesome, and I'm so happy for them.
Yeah, I really like their whole sort of different approach to how they
I do too,
things,
and the cigars are fantastic.
Yeah, and they really are very smokable. And didn't you do a Candela that was a Leaf by Oscar? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, that was a different Candela.
That was a different Candela.
But I did a Maduro recently, I think, that was the Leaf by Oscar.
I don't know if I've tried their Maduro.
Their Maduro is hands down my favorite in that line, and they're all good.
I love me some Leaf by Oscar. And not bad.
There you go.
Oh, now, a very interesting thing just happened, because I just popped the cork on this bottle of Avion tequila, and in so doing, the lid with the cork in it passed by my nose, and I got this intoxicating scent of the tequila to come. Boy, that's really, really good. I'm going to tell you that I was not initially a fan of Avion tequila. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really a fair assessment to make because I'd never tried it. But I was worried that they were just going to be gimmicky.
Right.
I used to watch the TV series Entourage on HBO, and in Entourage, one of the characters buys into Avion tequila and becomes a part owner of that. And so obviously this is product placement, if you will.
Right, yeah.
Because that didn't happen accidentally that they chose Avion. That was
well, you
something
mentioned
Avion
that when I brought
into.
that silver in that time as well. And I didn't know anything about it because I am woefully... I watch so little TV it would boggle most people's brain.
Well,
you know?
But I was worried that this was just a product placement thing, that it was maybe an indication that the tequila was less than spectacular. And I have to say, it was your silver that you brought in that changed my mind on it. So now I have brought us a bottle, and I've read amazing reviews of this, actually.
So I haven't
brought
tasted
us a
this
bottle
yet,
of the Anejo.
But my nasal research thus far indicates agave butter. Mm-hmm. Like this smells like butter. It's amazing.
Could I have a pat of the agave?
Yeah, I kind of like that. I've tried on toast.
Wow.
I mean,
so I will say that
vanilla, of course.
Just with smelling this, though, I'm kind of transported to Mexico. Like seriously, like it puts me in that mindset, that frame of mind.
This has that agave smell that's ripe and wonderful, not green and obnoxious.
Correct. Yes.
It's not overripe and pungent. This has a very, very refined agave kind of smell as far as like how much there is of it on the nose and how it actually smells to me.
So I'm very curious to see what you think of this when you go to taste, because I just took my first sip and I have some thoughts, but I want to hear yours first.
My thoughts are it tastes almost exactly like it smells.
Well,
like it is buttery. Mm-hmm. It has actually a thinner mouthfeel than I was expecting to it.
Well, tequila is not an incredibly viscous liquor to begin with.
Right, but this had a little thinner mouthfeel than I was expecting. It's interesting because it has almost no heat at first, and it has this creeping heat that happens after. It's kind of a pleasant way. Mm-hmm. The pepper is on the retrohale.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
There's pepper in there, but you don't initially taste the pepper. It's after you swallow and you're enjoying the aftertaste and breathe out your nose, you get that pepperiness.
You get that almost black pepper from the table.
Yeah, but I mean,
like you remember the kind in the little rectangular metal shakers with a plastic top?
Exactly it.
Like McCormick's?
Yep.
It's that kind of pepper. and in a good way. I will tell you that what's interesting to me about this, you're right, it does taste a lot like it smells.
Buttery.
What's interesting to me about this is that there's a great amount of smoothness along with a certain amount of heat, which seems like maybe a contradiction, but they both seem to work well together. And one of the things it does, and I've got to now try this with other tequilas because I really just noticed this. If you take a sip into your mouth, you get this burst of flavors and burst of intensity when you first draw the tequila in your mouth. And you'll also get that, although it's a little bit different, you get it on the finish once you've swallowed and then you do the retrohale. But in between, if you hold this on your tongue, there's not a lot of flavor happening. You're still feeling almost like the after effects of when you first pulled it into your mouth, but it's not sitting on your tongue like generating flavors. But then when you swallow, here they come. You with me?
I was just doing exactly what you said, and it's incredibly interesting. I think you nailed it. Like, you just hold it right there in your mouth, swish it around your tongue, and
it could be water.
It's not adding anything else. You get that initial burst of flavor.
But then when you swallow it, you get all of this finish. Very interesting.
It's almost like the flavor's up front and on the end and not a lot going on in the middle, but it's not bad at all.
So I like this a lot. It's a very tequila tasting tequila.
Yeah.
But that doesn't bother me. Like,
It's
I like
still
that.
buttery.
Yeah, it's still buttery. it's still very smooth. It doesn't have huge burn, when it's on the way down your throat. Like,
right.
It's very. I think it would be very easy to sit around and drink a bottle of this with a group of friends. You know what I mean?
This is one you can
it's
sit
one you
and
can
sip.
keep pouring.
Right.
But it is actually quite. Quite good.
What's the price of that bottle?
I believe this one's in the $50 range.
Okay.
So you can get Avions that are aged a little less for less, but I think this one's right around 50-51.
So I would, at that point in time, for my own personal preference, because you actually have turned me on to a lot of tequila, there are other tequilas I would buy in that price range.
Well, this puts you in the price range of Skelly, of the Skelly Anejo.
But I would certainly say it's not a disappointing buy by any means. It's good. And it's good at that level even.
I've seen this tequila mentioned in a number of lists and reviews of late. It's been getting very, very good press.
One of the things I'm finding even more interesting is now that I haven't taken a sip for a couple minutes, it finishes really clean.
Yes, it does.
Like, this doesn't linger and leave that tequila.
Oh my
agave.
gosh, I've just had a big belt of tequila. Yeah.
Right. It doesn't leave that just stuck in your mouth like a lot of them do.
Totally.
So that's kind of a plus in its favor too, but quite sippable. Like, I could see this going well with cigars too because of that. Maybe because of that little hollowness in the middle of the flavor profile, a cigar would work really well with it.
I have a feeling that it would, and I'd be very interested to drink this while smoking a cigar.
I can imagine something Maduro with some chocolate and espresso kind of flavors.
Perhaps one of those Padron Anniversarios we were mentioning.
Oh, that
earlier
would be amazing.
Would pair up real nicely with this, don't you think? It's Avion, a single origin tequila. It's small batch Highland agave. It says on the bottle, rich, warm oak, and vanilla. You definitely get the vanilla.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back and kind of taste for the oak here.
So again, haven't sipped on it a little bit. There is a little oak astringency on the very tail end of it, but it's way, 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 way back.
Yes, I get it, but you're right. It's way in the back.
It's way in the back, and it's there if you know what you're looking for.
I would say the primary flavor is, and this is kind of unusual for an añejo, the primary flavor is still agave.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing you come away with the most. So that's more likely to be something that you would say about a silver or a
warm,
blanco.
buttery, smooth agave, not like just ground up, in your face agave. It's really interesting how classy the agave comes across in this one versus
it is a very classy tasting tequila.
Yeah.
You're right. You pour this, people will kind of know that you spent a little extra.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt
tequila,
about it. Just even on the nose, by the time you get it up here and you can smell, you'll know.
Well, I told you when I took the cork out and it just passed by the nose, I was like, "Oh boy, we're in for a good one here." All right, we were going to take a break. Return with our final segment. We're going to be tasting something interesting. I haven't mentioned this yet on the show, Ian, but Lakewood Brewing Company. They had our final beer last week, and they will have our final beer this week as well. I couldn't resist the Peanut Butter Temptress.
It's a Temptress.
Yes, it's an Imperial Milk Stout. It's part of their Temptress series. Lakewood is out of Garland, Texas, so we will taste that next. Plus, I haven't had a chance to share this with you, so I promise that we will. The best bourbon when money's no object. All coming up in our final segment of Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 102.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a very different experience than like the Skelly experience, which is basically the same price. This is just a very different tequila experience.
And the Skelly has more sweetness to it.
Yes, it's
so I can see
sweeter and even smoother. So
right.
It just goes down.
So I could definitely see a division in who would like this versus the Skelly.
Mm-hmm.
One or the other. I think I would.
This
I would
might
probably...
be more tequila traditionalists.
Right.
And Skelly might be more people
Nuevo
who are just
tequila?
like, yeah, who are like, I can't believe how smooth this is, tequila. You know,
Neo tequila.
Neo tequila. Wasn't that the character in The Matrix, Neo Tequila? Wow, that's darn. I love good.
It's not good if you try to inhale it.
No, you're right about that. Man, I love good booze. That should be our slogan. Smoking and toasting. Man, I love good booze.
Mm-hmm. Other notable phrases from Smoking and Toasting: beer good. Also, whiskey good.
Damn, I just spilled my tequila.
Here.
And I'm not even drunk yet. That's what the guy that spills stuff always says, right? Well, I'm not even drunk yet. And now my iPad is going to smell like tequila for like a month because I got it on the... No, it just got it on the little case here. I was just telling Adam, I got on my iPad case. Now my iPad is going to smell like tequila for like a month. Which it isn't necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. It's one of the good things about this job versus like other office jobs that you might have. Yeah, you can smell like... Oh, God. I hope I don't ever smell like my Lord. In fact, I prefer not to ever even smell my Lord.
I don't know why I didn't bring that to the 100th. I totally forgot.
Yeah, well, because you were having mercy.
Can we put Malort on the table when we do our whiskey sniff? Like, just have it there.
Oh my God, it was just so terrible.
Because, there's always that one guy.
Yes. All right.
The sound machine.
Yeah. If we were in Miami. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Sorry. All right, here we go.
On the beach in Hawaii.
Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. This is the radio program that is all about craft beer and fine spirits and hand-rolled cigars, not even necessarily in that order. We're brought to you by our friends at B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork and Fort Worth. I got to talk to you about B&B. I think I may have found something I like better than Chef Tommy's bacon.
I don't know you anymore, and I don't know what to say.
It's the lamb bacon at B&B.
I don't know the lamb bacon.
Oh my God, we have to go there immediately and eat some lamb bacon because it's one of the most like deliciously divine things you've ever encountered.
Well, we have to go by there at some point in time in the near future and talk
Yes, we
about
do.
plans for the
Yes, for the whiskey sniff.
The whiskey sniff.
Yes, which we're very excited about. So that's where the whiskey sniff is going to be held. So we're really, really psyched about it. And wow, more details to come. In fact, I think we'll have some more details next week on next week's show.
Amazing.
About the whiskey sniff. Yes. So our friends at Shiner have put out 2 new beers, or they have 2 more coming. In a statement last Thursday, the beer makers released details about the new offerings, and they are Shiner Wicked Juicy IPA, I'm so psyched for this.
Fun.
Yes, a fun, like, I can't believe Shiner is like doing a juicy IPA. This
Well, you
is
know,
awesome.
the juicy IPA thing has just become this kind of fad with IPAs. Mm-hmm. But I got to tell you, as much as IPAs are not my favorite, I like kind of the juicy IPAs.
Man, the juicies are good. The
They're
juices
good.
are real
and you have
good.
to drink them real fresh.
Oh, I know. Real fresh and real cold.
Yeah.
That's two things I really are my favorite, beer attributes.
Like
really fresh and
Revenge.
really
I mean,
cold.
what?
Yes, right.
Sorry.
They're also releasing Day Quencher Session Ale. So two very interesting and not things you think about as being Shiner
Right,
products.
right.
The Day Quencher Session Ale and the Juicy IPA. The Juicy IPA has been described as an IPA with tremendous flavor yet minimal bitterness, while the Day Quencher Session Ale carries notes of freshly cut citrus, yellow flowers, and soft pine. So very interesting. There'll be, by the way, ongoing styles, not just seasonal offerings. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm kind of psyched about that. I'm a fan of the Spetzel brewery, and Shiner just. I root for them. You know
So
what I mean?
actually really enjoy Shiner Bach. Mm-hmm. Just in general, sometimes I go, you know what, that's what I want, and I pick up a 6 or a 12. Like Jimmy Morrick says, when you want to sit down and drink 24 beers.
Yeah, he was the best.
God, he was
one of the best guests
It
ever.
was so fun. But I do enjoy it. I also enjoy their blonde and their premium. I like quite a few things they do. They're a little hit and miss on their seasonals sometimes.
Right. Sometimes they're terrific. And I'm not being an IPA guy. Shiner's Wicked IPA, not my favorite IPA. I will certainly drink one.
Right.
But if there's the 5 IPAs to choose from, that's never going to be the one.
But that's
I go
okay
to.
because Shiner makes 3 other beers that I'd have instead of that.
Right, exactly. So, thank you for taking care of that. So, yeah, I agree, but I'm really excited about the Juicy IPA. One of my favorite Juicy IPAs that I've had is from a company that I think of very much the same way that I think of Shiner, which is Sam Adams.
Yeah.
Their New England, in the Sam Adams, it's called the New England IPA, but that's their juicy, hazy style IPA. That thing is terrific. It comes in those 16-ounce cans in the 4-pack. Oh, my God, that's good. Have we tasted that on the show?
I don't think we've had that on the show, but we did have that Sam 76 on the show, and I have actually
good.
bought a few 6-packs of that
was
since.
good.
That's a good, easy drinking beer. Kudos to Sam Adams for that.
By the way, I had my friend Steve Robinson was over recently, and I was really proud of this because Steve is a very mainstream beer drinker. In fact, he's one of the guys we had on when we've done the light beer blind taste test because he's like a great guy where sort of what your average non-craft guy. I mean, he'll drink Shiner Bock and Love Street and a few things like that, but he's not a super craft guy. Anyway, I got him to try the 805 from Firestone
So
Walker,
good.
and he loved it.
It's
So I was
so
so
good.
excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's what it's like if you're a craft beer person, when you get somebody to take a step towards it. It's like you're a cult member, recruiting someone. It's just this wonderful, wonderful
Google
moment.
gobble, one of us.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So,
Well, for years it was agave wheat. Breckenridge agave wheat
Was your gateway beer,
Was the
yes.
great gateway beer,
You're
and
right.
it was good, and it was great for that. But there's so many out now that are so good, like that
I'm
Sam
thinking
76, like that
the
805,
Sam 76,
Yeah.
and Love Street from Carbach.
Love
is
Street.
another
Yeah,
great-
is a great call. So.
Yep.
Pardon me, just a moment here.
Please do.
Thank you.
That
I'll
one
be here
deserved-
all week.
That one deserved a round of applause. A round of tinny little machine-made applause. So,
the lo-fi aspect of that actually adds to how awesome it is.
It would not be nearly as cool if it were an actual pumped into the mix sound effects, would it? Yeah.
No, I don't think
I'm
so.
thinking not. So what Ian is pouring here is our second Lakewood closer beer. We call the last beer we drink on the show the closer beer. And it generally is going to be the highest ABV, IBU.
You're creating new units, the
yes.
IBV units.
Yes, I like that. That sounds like something off of an ER episode.
Here's the.
So it is one of our the closer beer is usually a higher alcohol content beer. It's very often a stout or a barley wine or something aged in a bourbon barrel.
Anything that I bring.
Or anything that Ian brings. Yes, and I've told him. Well, here's the thing: I keep buying these beers and putting them in my beer closet at home, thinking, "Oh, this will be a great closer beer for the show," and so now I have like too many closure beers, and I want to drink them, but I'm like, oh, I can't drink this. I have to save it because Ian's going to love this on the show. So this is one of those. I had this for a little while, not too long, but it is an Imperial milk stout that is called Peanut Butter Temptress. Now, you know a bit about the Temptress series, right?
So this is actually our third Temptress we've had on the show.
Yes.
Because we had the
You had the coconut.
Temptress, and then it was a chocolate mint Temptress at one point in
I think
time.
that's right,
I
yes.
believe we had on here. And they're all fantastic. And you know my wife is going to listen to this, and she's going to be like, can you bring me some of that home? So again, directly affecting sales for the beer we're talking about.
Well, I can tell you.
So the Temptress is their Imperial milk stout. And then they have different flavors that they add to it, and it's this is ale brewed with lactose, sugar, and vanilla with peanuts, chocolate, and sea salt. I mean, that's a little hard to go wrong with.
Yeah.
Consider the beer equivalent of a peanut butter cup. We took our rich and dreamy milk stout and made it extra with chocolate, peanuts, and a touch of sea salt. The result is a creamy, peanut buttery treat that's fit for the candy aisle. Enjoy chilled in your favorite glass, which isn't a candy coating, but it'll do.
Ian, while you've been reading that, I've been doing some research.
This smells amazing.
Well, first, and again, it tastes just like it smells.
You know when you bite into a Reese's peanut butter
Yes.
cup and that immediate smell that's released, like when the peanut butter is exposed after that bite, this smells just like that.
All right, so let me pass this along. If there are any fans here, because I don't eat a lot of candy. My weaknesses are more salty things, chips and salsa, things like that. So I don't eat a lot of candy and super sweet stuff. But if I were to choose a favorite candy, yes, I know it's good, isn't it? If I were to choose a favorite candy, it would probably be not the Reese's peanut butter cup, but the time that Reese's took it and improved on it and made it into perfection, which happens once a year, which is the Reese's Easter egg. And so here's what happens with the Easter egg. I love the peanut butter cup, don't get me wrong, but the Easter egg, because it's thicker, has more peanut butter in ratio to the chocolate.
Yeah.
And somehow that, I wouldn't have guessed it, but somehow that ratio is more on the money than the ratio of the peanut butter cup. So I say all of that to say, what this beer reminds me of is a Reese's peanut butter Easter egg in a glass. It's delicious.
You know what's amazing?
It's almost too
is
good.
The finish on this too. A lot of times when you eat a beer this sweet, it leaves you with that sticky sweetness kind of aftertaste. This doesn't. This leaves you with a peanut butter
right, the peanut butter on the aftertaste, yeah.
But not a sticky sweet aftertaste to it as well. Also, I'm a little surprised because this has a little less mouthfeel than some of the other ones we've tried. But this is really
I'm curious
fun.
about Adam, because I know Adam enjoys. You enjoy stouts. What are your thoughts on this? Do you like it? Or is this to your taste? And we have started asking him about beers more because you and I are of the same generation,
right.
but Adam's definitely from a different generation, and I'm noticing some of the difference in where his tastes run. Then
He's millennial, but he's not quite hipster.
yeah,
Not
right.
too much on the millennials.
Yeah.
Y'all go too
But
much.
what do you think of this peanut butter stout? Like, is this gimmicky to you, or do you find it like really delicious and drinkable?
I think the balance is perfect. First of all, I love peanut butter. I eat peanut butter every day.
Okay.
I put it in my smoothies. I put it on my bread. I put it everywhere.
See, that's
So-
a millennial. That's a millennial, man. I'm telling you.
But no,
So-
I think the balance is really well.
Because it would have been easy for this to be gimmicky, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we've had some peanut butter ones on before that were like, meh. I
Right.
mean, it's nice, but
I think this is great.
yeah, this is
Wow.
this is top of the rock. Good beers today, by the way. One day I'll gain your trust and you'll let me bring beers again.
Malort didn't help, even though that wasn't actually a beer, Ian. That I just want you to know.
So when I brought nothing but stouts and barley wines
that didn't help either. Well, because
that started at 7.5% and went up to
yeah, all I'm saying
14%, I guess.
All I'm saying is we like to mix it up. That's all I'm saying. It's just a thing. Okay, the best bourbon when money's no object. We have to finish the show with this because we promised that we would do it. And I think this is fascinating. And I've mentioned this before, but if you do not go to the website liquor.com, you totally should. If you enjoy spirits on any level, They have the best website, and they have some fascinating articles. We like to share some of them with you every now and then, and this is one of them. They put a list together of the best bourbon when money's no object. And I'll tell you in advance of this, what I love about this list, and make sure you save a drink of that for John Whiteside.
I am.
What I love about this list is
Maybe.
it's not just ridiculous. It's not just all
Right.
$800 bourbons. It's basically they're saying, yeah, anything probably that's over $30-$40 like could make the list if we think it's good enough. And number one on the list is an example of that. It's a $60 bourbon. It's Angel's Envy.
Yeah.
They put
That's
this
a
on
good
their
bourbon.
list of the best bourbon when money is no object. The second bourbon on the list, at $145, Barrel Bourbon, Barrell, Barrel Bourbon.
I don't think I've ever had that.
Batch 002. It says here this is a uniquely fragrant sherry finished bourbon. And they got that quote from a bartender at New York City's North End Grill. So, number three, the Belle Meade Madeira Cask. It's a $70 bourbon made in Tennessee that they say here is just simply perfect. And number four, at $59, Blanton's.
Oh, hell yeah.
And Blanton's is the real deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we can get occasionally at least.
It's a little hard to find, but you can get it, and it's so good.
At $72, and number five is Booker's.
Oh, hell yeah.
At $72, it's totally an intense cask strength, non-chill filtered balance of leather and oak, and opens up with dark
My
cherry.
wife made an old-fashioned with that just yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Booker's.
Yeah, she goes, it's a little stronger. I said, yeah, that's cast strength.
Yeah, this cask strength.
She enjoyed the hell out of it.
At number six, and our first one to come in above $200, at $325 a bottle, the 18-year Elijah Craig.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're basically saying it has classic oak with a balance of orchard fruits and soft caramel. So that's $325. So the most expensive one on the list so far. At number seven, at $130, Elmer T. Lee. Year in and year out, one of the most satisfying, affordable bourbons you can find. You can tell how beloved Elmer was because this bottle has all of the quality of much more expensive bourbons at a fraction of the cost. So that's interesting because it is a $130 bottle.
Right.
It's not like we're talking about a $25 bourbon here. So, but that's Elmer T. Lee. So there you go. At number eight, George T. Stagg.
Great.
Taking the new crown as most expensive at $800 a bottle. But it says here it's hearty, uncut, and unfiltered with rye, spice, clove, and smoke. Have you had the George T. Stagg?
You know, I've hung out with Chris Hart.
Oh, so you have had the George T. Stagg. And that's one of the things that happens to those of us who
He
have
brought
a
that,
chance
actually, I think, didn't we have dinner at your house and he brought
I think
that
so.
out?
I think that was where he brought it. Yeah, it was. We had dinner at my house. At number nine, a bourbon that seems now suddenly affordable at $90. It's the I.W. Harper 15, the 15-year. Ridiculously smooth, it says. This bottle is the ultimate crowd pleaser for bourbon drinkers of all stripes. Light and fruity, but exceedingly flavorful.
I don't think I've had that one.
Have you had Jefferson's Ocean?
I have.
It comes in at number 10 at $80 a bottle. Says it has a great flavor that pairs well with a fun story of its aging process where it spends its life in a barrel at sea with the natural agitation of the waves instead of turning barrels. What was your take on Jefferson's Ocean?
It's everything they say. It was delicious.
Aged at sea, a very small batch.
My brother actually brought it when he was in town.
Very small batch whiskey. I think I remember you talking about that, actually. At $200 and number 11 on the list, Jim Beam's Distiller's Masterpiece. This is, everyone is so quick, the article says, to dismiss a product with Jim Beam on the label. But this is a limited production 12-year-old bourbon finished in PX sherry cask that will change your mind about that. It's an excellent after-dinner sipper. That's according to the whiskey concierge and lead bartender at Hardwater in San Francisco. At number 12, at $67, again, seeming suddenly wildly
Much
affordable.
more affordable.
Noah's Mill.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Noah's
good one,
Mill.
too.
A nutty core of fruit notes from scent to taste. A high-proof bourbon that's balanced, smooth, and
That's a great go-to.
right at the right price tag. Yep. How about Barter House? Are you familiar with Orphan
Never
Barrel?
heard of that.
Orphan Barrel's Barter House 20-year. A fascinating-looking bottle with a sort of a naked dancing fox on it with a pork pie hat. Is the best way I can describe it. Here, I'll show you the picture.
Hey, there's that.
Yep. It's a 20-year. It's $120. The author of this piece said, I'm not a huge fan of the Orphan Barrel series, but this is my favorite. Creamy orange and peach are nice backbones to classic bourbon notes. That's the owner of San Francisco's Elixir that wrote that, and it came in at number 13. At 14, the Orphan Barrel Forged Oak 15-year. Are you familiar with the Forged Oak? See, there's some of this we haven't.
So
had
the
a
Orphan
chance to
Barrel
try.
I've heard of, but I haven't heard of either of those.
Says with its age statement comes long notes of cocoa backed with notes of maple sweetness and cedar wood. At number 15, the Orphan Barrel Rhetoric 21-year at $157. At 16, Rabbit Hole finished in PX sherry casks for $63. What I'm loving is I'm finding a lot of things in here I hadn't heard of before.
Yeah.
So that really excites me because it makes
This is
me
going to
wanna
be a
try
shopping list.
This one I have seen but not tried. Widow Jane's 10-year.
Seen it, haven't tried it.
Yep, $72. Known
Matter
for
of fact,
its choice
noticed it on the wall last night at Bosscat.
I saw that as well. It's known for its choice of where the water comes from. It turns making bourbon the right way into a true work of art, and it is from New York. It's just great smell, a balanced, smooth bourbon thanks to its limestone mineral water. Ian, what about the Wild Turkey Master's Keep 17-year?
I don't know if I've tried that one. I've tried some of the upper line Wild Turkey stuff,
Yep.
and it's all good.
This is $140 a bottle. I'm not a big fan of old bourbon, the author says, but when it's done right, it's delicious. This one I grabbed for. So, how about the Willet Pot Still Reserve for $60?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
very familiar with that one.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to know about this.
Very familiar. I brought that on the show, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was good. The WL Weller 12-year.
That one's good.
Didn't we just have this
Yeah.
on Chris Hart's show? It may not have been the 12-year. We had a Weller, didn't we?
We did have a Weller, but
Yeah.
I know we've had that before as well.
It's the pappy that bourbon enthusiasts are looking for.
We just have to call Chris and find out what we've tried.
Yeah, number 20 on. Well, that's the kind of embarrassing thing about being on Chris's show is you walk out of there having tried all these like things
Amazing.
that, like aren't
Yeah.
available. You're like, this.
I need to add one to that list.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Hudson 4-grain.
And how much would the bottle of that run you?
50 to 60-ish.
50, 60. So not for a list like this on the cheaper end. Yeah.
Yeah, and the complexity is amazing. The overall drinkability of it is amazing. We had it at B&B, actually. Jeremiah turned us
you're
on
right.
that.
You're right. We
So
sure did.
good. It's
We sure
just
did.
amazing.
Well, I enjoyed that list, and now I've got several things. Well, several
That's-
of the
that's
lesser
called a
expensive
shopping
things
list.
that are making my shopping list. Yes,
Part of it's a
Absolutely.
wish list. Part of it's a
Yeah.
shopping list.
That's right. Part of it would be the Christmas list.
Right,
And the other part
right.
would be the shopping list. So, Ian, what are you going to get me for Christmas this year?
Right.
Oh, man. Well, what an interesting show. We had a great list. We had some great. I agree with you. The beers, I think, were terrific.
Yeah,
today.
you did all right, man.
And the
I'll
Avion
let you
tequila.
keep bringing beers.
Well, you can always try it again. You just have to remember to bring something sessionable. Just one.
I brought two 18% and a glass of water.
Yeah, that's right. And that pretty much worked for it. Well, I want to just say again a quick thank you to everyone who was involved in putting that little jingle and show open together that we got.
That was pretty amazing.
show
That was
that was-
recorded over at Paul Beebe's studio. It's called
Nice.
BB Gun Studios.
BB Gun Studios,
And it's
yep.
over in Midtown. He's got a beautiful little setup over there.
Well, it sounds great,
Yeah.
and John Egan, he's the man. He's
He's
the man.
what blues sounds like.
He is the man. Thanks
And
again.
if you get a chance to look up John Egan on YouTube, look up what is it called? The Man I'll Never Be. That
The Man I'll Never Be. That is his song.
So good.
That is his song. Yep. That's my jam.
Yeah.
As the kids say.
As
right.
the Utes.
That's the youth say. I want to thank also everyone involved in putting our 100th show together. I know we're a couple of weeks removed from it, but people are still talking about it that were there. Anytime I run into anybody who was there, that's all they want to talk about is the 100th show. I'm like, oh, we must have had a really good time.
Yes, we did.
And it was a blast. Thank you to Adam on the Wheels of Steel, and thanks to our buddies Chris Hart and Chris Soul, the Chris's. We are out of time, I think, and we're not going to be able to sample the Mumford & Sons IPA. We'll get to that next week. But we're going to be back next week with, just confirmed, by the way, Platypus Brewing will be
Nice.
bringing beers in next week. So
Which is oddly next door to B&B.
yes. I think they're coming into the studio, but we may still have to plan it on location.
Fantastic.
We can wave at Jeremiah. Have a great week, my friends, and we appreciate you listening to Smoking and Toasting. Have a wonderful remainder of your Thursday, and cheers. Oh, you got just a little tequila.
Cheers. I got just a little tequila. I just